Okay, we have Joe Quattrone's Cleveland here, 14 cubic inch flat tappet solid camshaft. So we're going to start doing some more videos. People seem to like them. They comment, they call the shop, they want us to do more. So we'll do more videos. So we're doing a tech video today regarding solid and, in that matter, hydraulic flat tappet camshaft running. So there's a little bit of a method. So if we go back to the original sort of at the start of the build, this has an AFD solid flat tappet camshaft. So the camshaft's got to have the correct taper. The camshaft's got to have the correct hardening. The camshaft's got to be straight, can't be bent and so on. So that's the beginning. You need to buy a high quality camshaft like an AFD or whatever it may be. The lifters also need to be a high quality brand. We harness test them. We have our own brand we use. We're boxing them in AFD now. So we check the hardening and so on. They're American made, believe it or not. We reface every lifter to our specific crown and we make sure the lifter's true. So we always refacing the lifter so the lifter is correct. Now, the way the lifter works, when the engine fires, the lifter needs to rotate. So the taper of the load, the crown of the lifter rotates, the cam goes up and down, the lifter rotates, and it lives. So that's why when people say you need to start the motor instantly when you're running in a flat tappet cam, that is true. So, in this case, we set the dizzy correct, the fuel bowls correctly, we squirt a bit of fuel in there. So in this case, bang, we started immediately. We went to 2,500 RPM. We run in here, we check the timing. We like to put a fair bit of timing in it when it's running in. So it was on about 22. So as it was running at 2.5 grand, I advanced it, put on about 32. Everything looked good, no leaks. Went in there within a minute or two. I started putting some load in it. So we're on 2.5 to 2.6. So 2.6 I ended up on, RPM, 2,600. 70 foot-pounds of load. So we've got to bed the rings in. We have our flow meter here, so blow-by meter. So at the same time, we're running in the cam and we're bedding in or cutting in the ring. So there's a bit more procedures with the flat tappet stuff. So again, we use the ULX running in all in this particular engine. We use ULX or Lucas, depending on the caliber of the engine. The bigger ones, we tend to use the ULX. We put an additive in there. We've got a little a mixture like a cocktail. So off we go. We start it. Immediately, we're running it at 2,600. We have load, and we plan to run it for half an hour, 30 minutes. So obviously, a dyno is a major advantage when running in a camshaft or bedding in rings, because in a car, there's no way to load the engine and bed the rings in. So hence, we dyno every engine, and everyone should do the same. You're taking a chance in a car. We've got fans here blowing on the headers. We've got fans blowing. It'll keep the oil at a lower temperature because we're running it for half an hour with load. In a car, there's nowhere for the heat to go. You start melting things and the oil gets hot and the car might get hot and so on and so on. So we prefer to do it on a dyno, each to their own. Another thing is I'll get the valve springs. So this is what we're about to do now. So let me just open this. I'll get a razor blade. So when we're running in a camshaft, flat tappet camshaft that is, we need to run it in with a soft valve spring. So in some cases, like with the little diameter stuff, we run a completely different valve spring, like on the 308s. We run it in. Once we're happy it's run in, then we go and put the actual valve springs in there. At some time we put a taller valve lock, so plus 50 collets to raise the installed height, so you have softer springs again. In this case here, with our flat tappet stuff, it's running a dual spring. So this valve spring, as you can see, it's an outer. So the larger spring's on the outer, and then this is the inner spring. So when we run this in, we've removed the inner spring. So now this is a soft spring. You wouldn't run this to 7,000 with that soft spring. It'll valve float. So what we've done, we've run in the camshaft a couple of times. We're happy with it. And then what we do, we turn the engine over before we touch anything. Like, for example, we'll turn it over, we'll get number 1 rocking, and then we check 6. So we check 6, beautiful. Then we get number 3 rocking in the Cleveland, which is on this side, and we check number 5. Perfect. So we check all 8 intake and exhaust rockers before we touch it. So that indicates that nothing's loose. So if this was loose, for example, we're going to panic. We're going to say, shit, something's gone wrong here. We've worn out a lobe or a lifter, or, if we're lucky, maybe there's something wrong with the roller rocker. So in this case, we've run in Joe's engine, we've checked all the rockers, and we're happy because now we're on the home straight. We know that it's running, it's happy, it's all bedded in, no rockers have come loose. You might have a foul or two here and there, things settle, like rockers settle and bearings and push rods and stuff like that. You've got moly and stuff like that on there. We use a particular grease, by the way, Promar grease on the camshaft. We don't use the old school moly. We have a method. So we use the camshaft lube from Cams, which is a red lube. We put in the cam. The theory behind that is, but again, being a little bit old school, I've sort of questioned it. I'm sure it's fine, but so the red stuff, it's like a assembly lube, like a thick oil that goes on the lobe, which is theoretically, they say it goes into the core of the camshaft. So they're saying that embeds itself in the core. So we figured out, okay, we'll use the red stuff, put it over the cam, it sort of disappears, and then we put our Promar grease on top of the lobes, old school, like a moly. So there's grease on the cam, has the cam stuff underneath. It's bedded into the embedded itself in the lobes, and then we put a little bit on the lifter, some of our grease on the base. So all this combined, we seem to have success. So the next step is now, one by one, we remove the rockers. What we'll do, we'll remove all the roller rockers, put them in order on the bench. Then one by one, we'll put the piston on top dead center, and we'll remove the valve spring, put the inner spring in, all 16, put the rockers on, push rods, roller rockers back on, game on, valve covers on. We start it, set our timing, give us some light power runs, then we can start tuning carburetors, ignition timing, carby spaces, and so on. So what we'll do now, we'll show you how to change the valve spring. So we can pause it now and we'll come back to you. Okay, so we have now removed the roller rockers and the push rods. As you can see, we've put them in order. So all the roller rockers, front to back, left to right, are in order. And now we'll show you how to remove the valve springs and put the inner springs in there. Before we do that, I'm going to give the boys from AFD a bit of a plug, because they produce, the AFD guys, they've produced them for a long time. They do sell a little bit of them, but they're in the process of finalising their website, and then potentially they'll sell a lot more. So we have they have adjustable guide plates. Competition Engine's been using them, selling them for years. If you zone in here, you have a look. The guide plates are split with that little tongue in the middle, so they can go left to right. So what that does, so we make them, or they make them in a 3/8 push rod. This is a 3/8 and a 5/16. And then also unique, they make them also to suit the SCM cylinder head. So the SCM cylinder head, Scott Cook, cannot use a conventional guide plate. So normally you have to use a platinum Yellowterra rocker. But if you had your original studs and roller rockers, like your stud mount roller rockers, and you've bought SCM heads, well, then you've got to buy a new roller rocker. So we have made, now AFD has made a guide plate, again 5/16 and 3/8, to suit the SCM heads also. And the AFD cylinder heads that are getting machined as we speak, we've had castings done, are going to have the similar setup as the SCM. So they'll have a shoulder on the heads, and you've got to use the SCM/AFD guide plates on the SCM heads and the AFD heads. Now, the reason why the guys have made an adjustable guide plate, I'll just put these on, because what happens, normally the guide plate, the conventional guide plate that everyone sells, is one piece. So you put it on there and you sort of slide it left and right and try and get the valve, the rocker in the middle of the valve, but sometimes you've got to compromise because they're moving together. But because this is individual, you can adjust that guide plate, lock it down, and get your valve in the middle, or the rocker in the middle, or right in the middle of the tip of the valve. So that's a great advantage. Another advantage, if your push rod is close to your cylinder head or something like that, you could offset that and potentially sit the rocker a little bit on an angle. Like small block Chevs sit on a massive angle, not a problem. So sometimes you have to sort of move the rocker over a touch to clear the cylinder head, the push rod to clear the cylinder head, and you have that ability with these AFD rockers. So that's that. So we'll put these rockers back in the right order. We'll remove the push rods. So we use again an AFD push rod. That's a 3/8 piece. Great push rod. Big radiuses, ball ends, one piece. So they're a great push rod. So again, the guys are trying to launch the website. Once the website's launched, there'll be all their Cleveland, Windsor, Chevy heads, manifolds, roller rockers, push rods, cams, lifters, all that stuff. But that'll be a video for another day. So what's happened here, which I've got, so what I'm going to do, I put the piston on top dead center on this cylinder. They're the springs I'm removing. Then I'll go to the next one, next one, next one. I go off the harmonic balancer. So in this case, 270 degrees on the harmonic balancer. If you come over here, Marco, is top dead center on number 5 cylinder. Right? But the easiest method is, which I still do it. So I'm always questioning myself and making sure I've got my piston on top dead center. Something like this. It's a screwdriver. I'm not doing any damage. I just put it in there and go, yep, that's on top dead center. So I know my piston's on top dead center. The valve's not going to fall out when I take the spring off. So what I do now, this is a Moroso tool. We sell them here. Most engine builders would have this, if not every engine builder. So it screws on to your screw-in stud, in this case. Right down, that's your little fork, which I go maximum on that. Then I'll put a magnet on the, so it has a bar. So the bar hinges down. There's my magnet. So what I'll do, I'll push down on the retainer. See that there is on the retainer. And I'll grab the lock. So there we go. So I've grabbed the locks. There they are. I know the valve's not going to fall out because the piston's on top dead center. Pull this off. Pull that back. There's your spring. So I always check if the valve guide's nice and free. As you can see, that's it. They're touching the piston. Beautiful. We know we've got about 2 thou, 1/2 to 2 thou valve guide clearance. So as you can see, we have, so normally when you purchase these springs, they have that dual spring inside. So they might have 150 on the seat and probably 380 to 400 spring pressure open for this caliber of camshaft. So when we remove this spring, this might only have 90 on the seat and probably 250 open. So we're running a soft spring to run in the cam. Give the cam all the chance in the world to bed in, right, to run in. So also, if you come in here, Marco, push rod length is very critical. You can see the middle of those tips. Can you see that on the camera? So our push rod length is smack on. In this case, 8.650 length. So push rod length is critical. Valve spring heights are all our heights. So what we do, when you put the retainer on, there is a specific tool, but again, that might be for another video on the spring tester. So with the tool, every single one is checked. We don't overlook anything. You might have an odd retainer or an odd set of locks or something. So everyone, there's a tool. We measure from under the retainer to the base of that spring locator. That's our installed height. For example, it might be 1.8. So then we put the valve spring in the spring tester. We test it at 1.8 inches. It tells us, we've got 150 pound on the seat, for example. Then we say, okay, this cam has 600 valve lift. So then we open the valve spring 600 thou, so simulating 600 valve lift, and it'll tell us, you got 380 open spring pressure. And then you got to make sure you got enough before the spring bottoms out, which is called coil bind, when the spring compresses. So you got to have at least 60 thou after full lift before coil bind, if that makes sense, right? But when we're setting up a set of heads, we'll do some more videos and show you. Now, what we're going to do, we're going to simply put the inner spring, there we go, in that outer valve spring. You can see the retainer's always got to be a nice fit, like that's a beautiful fit. It goes in there, that barely moves, probably, I don't know, 10 thou, 20 maybe, so it's a perfect fit. Also the spring, we'll remove this again, has to have some sort of locator. So the spring can't walk, you can't just put it on a cylinder head. So in this case, if you go in real close, you can see the little ledge right there. So that is the inner spring locator. So this inner spring, as you can see, locates on there. So it can't move. So that locates the spring, right? So you've got to understand it. Every spring has its specific diameter in your ID and your OD. So you need to, purchase the right spring locator or valve spring locator to suit your springs. But again, when we go into some videos, let's see how we go with this. We've never done this in a video, so hopefully I can get it first shot. So there we go. If you come around the other side, Marco, I'm just going to put my back towards you. I've got a little method, put the tool into my hip. Maybe not good for my hip, but anyway. So inner spring is in, locks are in, wham. So there it is, it's back in, we have an inner spring. I will remove this tool and I'll show you a little thing I do right at the end. You'd always rather be safe than sorry. So that one's in. I'm going to do them one by one, but we'll just show you. Obviously, one, we're not going to bore you with all 16. Then I'll put a rag on top, which we do this when we're assembling the heads on the bench. Just give it a tap, make sure the locks or the collars have settled, they're in, everything's good. We've got to do all 16, so another 15 to go. Then we put our push rods back in, we adjust our rockers. That might be another video. We'll show you how to adjust rockers, which we might do it on this engine actually, so it'll be another video. And that's it, and then we'll run it up and tune it and go for it. We've done our running in procedure, but still a little bit of OCD. I'll put the inner springs in, and I'll give this another 20 minutes now of running. So I'll fire it, I won't let it idle, straight to 2,500, 2,600 RPM, put some load on it and go another 20 minute cycle. Why not? It won't hurt it. So the critical thing is you can't let it idle when you're running in the cam. In this case, it's run in, so I could start it and just put it back on idle, not an issue. Bit of OCD, I'll give it another 20. Why not? We're not in a rush. Job's got to be done once and it's got to be done correctly. Okay.